The year is 2002, making it 2 years since the full launch of the 6th generation consoles. At the time, I was in the 2nd grade watching Vegeta do the final explosion of Majin Buu, only to see the series return all the way back to the Saiyan saga due to a hiatus.
I'm sorry, what?
However, around that year on December 3rd, the developer DIMS along with the publisher Infogrames released the most important Dragon Ball game to ever release, Dragon Ball Z Budokai. This wasn't the first Dragon Ball Z fighting game to ever hit the States. That actually goes to Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, which released in 1997. And spoiler alert, it was Dragon Ball Z Budokai came out around the time when Toonami was airing the beginning portions of the Buu saga. So this game didn't include that arc. One of the things that made this game pretty special was the fact that you can finally relive the Saiyan saga, Namek saga, or Frieza saga, and Android saga. Back then, we didn't have Crunchyroll like we do now, that we can access hundreds of anime and just watch it in dub, sub, whatever. You had to go to a store if you wanted to buy these things, and the VHSs were pretty expensive. In fact, let me show you. This is one of my VHS copies of the Kid Buu saga because, again, it kept doing reruns and I just wanted to see what happened. So this is pretty old right here. I mean, I still have it. It still works, you know. I believe these would run around like $20 to $30. Do you know how many episodes this would have? Only 3, and they were cut, not uncut. They would be censored. So that would be the way that we experienced the show all over again. So what does 2nd grade me do? Well, not much. I was lucky enough that my cousin brought the game over because he had a PS2 growing up first. Then he ended up getting an Xbox because I think his mother threw it down the stairs because he would not do his homework. Yo, that junk blew up. Disc like ejected. It was insane. So once you boot up the game, you're greeted to a fully 3D recreation of the opening theme. Now this is being released in North America. Instead of playing Chala Hechala, we got Rock the Dragon. It makes sense. I mean, this was the Funimation dub in Toonami, so everybody was watching this version. I'm pretty sure if they would have put Chala Hechala for, I guess, our generation, we would have been like, hey, wait, what's this? But one cool little thing is that they actually did include the Chala Hechala in an instrumental version in the credits once you beat the game. So that was pretty cool. There is a cool little Easter egg that involves the title cards, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, before we get any further and press start, let's look at the game case. Just right here, I almost like dropped it. All right, and here's the game case. Looking pretty awesome. I mean, this just pops up. Like if you're a kid walking down the aisle and you see this, you're gonna be like, whoa, I wanna play this. I love how Cell right here and Piccolo, Vegeta, and Gohan have like this silhouette like reddish hue to them, making Goku stand out even more. It just looks fantastic. Then you have the DBZ Budokai logo. On top here, it says the PS2. Flipping it to the side, there's the spine. It says Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Going to the back, it says a showdown of legendary proportions. Here it says enter the Dragon Ball Z Budokai, test your skills against the most powerful Dragon Ball Z heroes and the most sinister villains. Will you be the last warrior standing? This side over here, we have Krillin fighting Nappa, looking pretty awesome. Battle for Supremacy in 5 fierce fighting modes. This corner right here, we have Perfect Cell fighting Super Vegeta. And on this side, it says thrash your way up to the Cell games. Oh yeah, that's where it goes. Relive DBZ's most intense rivalries. I like how they include Vegeta and Goku here. Neat little touch. And we have a bonus character. Yep, you see that right there. Great Saiyan Man. You're wondering, wait a minute. I thought this only goes up to the Cell Saga. Well, yeah, it does. But they do a little bit of sprinkling in there of the Buu Saga. So we'll get into that stuff later. Unleash up to 60 combo moves per character, including the Special Beam Cannon and the Kamehameha. Follow the Dragon Ball Z animated series from the Saiyan Saga to the Cell games. Face off with 23 mighty Dragon Ball Z warriors. Unlock, collect, and trade devastating skills with friends to create the most powerful fighters in the universe. Battle at blazing speeds in the burst zones. Alright, and that will do for the back. Let's take a look at the inside of the case. Opening it up, we're greeted to the manual. That's a pretty nice, rather good manual. The disc right there, all its glory. Showing the manual here. There is a little goodie in there, but we'll get to that later. And there's the back of it. The thing that I love about all this is just the fact that as a kid, you get this game, And instead of waiting, having it to install, you just read all the stuff in the back, and it just gives you all this excitement for the game. All these tips and tricks right here. And it's all in color. I miss that stuff. Plus, when you put the game in, it's just instant. And you have here more stuff about the game. I mean, just look at this. A synopsis of the story. You have the Saiyan Saga, the Namekian Saga, and the Android Saga. Master Roshi here giving you a tip saying there are at least 2 sides up to every story. And then to the end, we have the Super Android 13 movie coming out. And that will do for the manual. Going to the other side, we have a double-sided poster. Now the poster isn't anything too crazy, but it is a nice little touch. I mean, you have a black background with the Dragon Ball Z logo, Budokai, and you have Goku in his Super Saiyan form. And I believe that's him when he's about to fight Cell. He's in the Cell games covering his arms, like doing his like power up. Flipping into the back, we have all the characters and a set of special combo lists. Some of them are their ultimate moves and some of them are just like their normal standard attacks, but it's a pretty neat little touch. But yeah, that would do it for the game case and all its goodies. Each mode in this game is numbered by a certain Dragon Ball, making the count 6. I know, I get it, we're missing another one. It's supposed to be 7, but we'll get to that. So how's the gameplay? Well, Dragon Ball Z Budokai is a full 3D fighter where you move around the entire arena and stage. Since I'm talking about the PS2 version, I'll be using those controller layouts if I ever mention certain ways I have to do certain special moves and stuff. You have your square, which is your punch, triangle being the kicks, circle being your ki blast if pressed by itself, or if you do it on a combo, it allows you to do a Kamehameha or other sequence of attacks. X being your block, while R1 would be your punch and kick simultaneously, and R2 being your punch and guard. Now, while you're pressing and holding the back buttons, you will charge a melee attack and that can break your opponent's guard and make you not stagger as easy for a short period of time. However, if both players do it at the same time, they connect and they will launch you to the burst zone, which is what the game case was talking about earlier. It's the closest thing that replicates the high-speed battles in the anime, really. I won't lie, when this happens, I just go crazy and like I feel like it works. It's done it all the time. So like I said, this game has you run through the Saiyan Saga all the way to the Cell games. Now it does give you a quick briefing of like the ending of Dragon Ball. Nothing crazy. It's just basically showing you like the aftermath of the battle against Goku and Piccolo Jr. It just wraps that up and then throws you right into the Saiyan Saga. One little thing is that before you start a battle in the story mode, it does give you like a little title card, shows you all your movesets, gives you like a quick little like, hey, this is where you punch and kick, like how we were just talking about. A little message of the character, like probably Goku saying, oh, I have to beat you or give me back my son or whatever. Any character that says that. Now here's the thing. Once you beat Radix in this game, you are treated to the most infamous and annoying minigame ever in a Dragon Ball. Once you complete that minigame though, you're treated to a pretty awesome cutscene, literally showing the impact wound when Piccolo does the special beam cannon on Goku and Radix. You don't see that type of like violence in these Dragon Ball games anymore. They didn't censor it. You got blood in this game. I mean, like look at Goku right now. Everything is just shredded. Like now in every Dragon Ball game, it's just blurred out. It's just black, a little bit of dust in there. Nothing crazy. Here's another example. When Goku turns Super Saiyan for the first time, he's covered in bruises, cuts, and blood all over his face. Same with Cell when he attacks Trunks, whole hole in his stomach, and when Gohan is also doing the beam struggle with Cell, like he is all battle damage. These games back then definitely got the anime violence right, all the way up to Budokai Tenkaichi 3. After that, I don't know, like they just got soft and they had to censor it. And even Dragon Ball Super barely has any blood. The only time that he actually you even see blood ever is when Vegeta got stabbed by Goku Black. But let me stop. I don't like censoring in my games, especially when it was fine before. Like just leave it how it was. Looking at you also, Halo. This just got everywhere. This is supposed to be about Dragon Ball. Let's get back to it. Now, while we're on the topic of cutscenes, like how character models look with like their battle damage and the graphics, they look nice. They do have this Play-Doh feel to them. I don't mind it. I think it's pretty cool. I think they were still trying to figure out what to do with like how they wanted this anime game to look like, but they found their footing once they did Budokai 2 and 3. And on the one that I mentioned earlier for the GameCube, even though it still looks like this, it is a little bit more cel shaded to an extent. Not too crazy how Budokai 2 and 3 does it, but just a little bit. Now, as you progress through the story, you start unlocking capsules that either give you new characters, attacks, or transformations. Now, once you finish the story of the game, it does unlock certain levels that kind of fill in the gap of the story. Nothing that was missing. You get to play as, instead of Goku every time, you might this time play as Vegeta, this time as Piccolo, So it adds a little bit more replayability to the story. Not only that, but once that's fully done, in each corresponding saga, you get a final mission that you get to play as a what if scenario. One of the first ever in the Dragon Ball series, if I'm not mistaken. The Saiyan Saga one has you as Vegeta. Once you beat the Z fighters, Vegeta just turns into a Super Saiyan, going by the rage of what happened to Nappa.
I gave Nappa noble warrior's death. It was what he deserved. He was a Saiyan!
The Frieza portion of it, Frieza beats the fighters also, but this time he actually reaches Porunga and wishes for immortality, basically conquering the entire universe.
Huh? What's this? Could it be? I wish you to grant me eternal life!
As you wish.
I'm born in this part of the universe. I might as well spend my time wisely and destroy the Earthlings' precious little blue planet.
And in the Cell one, this one's pretty cool. I think it's the best one out of the entire game comparing to the other two. You're basically our Cell trying to achieve your perfect form, but then as you're about to absorb Android 18, Krillin jumps in and Cell accidentally gets him.
Look out!
Transforming him into a small little Cell. He almost looks like a Cell Jr.
That freak is gonna pay for what he did to Krillin. I swear, if it's the last thing I do. He lost too much power. Yamcha, it's time to go.
He looks completely different, and so now his power level's down. Yamcha and Tien are like, alright, we're gonna fight you. Once you do complete that mission and you beat them, you find out that it was just all a dream. And Cell's just waking up from waiting in the Cell games. So it's a pretty cool little neat what if stuff. So I do appreciate that. Remember what I said about the title screen having a cool little surprise? Well, when you start the game up, you see the classic title screen. But since you've completed the Frieza Saga, if you go all the way back, it changes it to the Frieza Saga title screen. Then of course, if you beat the Cell arc or the Android arc, you get the Cell arc title screen. Lastly, once you complete the entire game and you go all the way to the title screen, you will see a cool little celebration of all the characters. It looks like the final shot panel of the manga once you finish reading the Buu Saga, but it doesn't include those characters. It's just from the Saiyan Saga to the Cell Saga. Cool little feature that the developers didn't really have to do, but it's a nice little touch to show your progression, which I appreciate a lot. I did want to include this in really quick. The table where Yamcha and Krillin are drinking their coffee, there's like a manga there of Dragon Ball. I can't make out the cover, but it is awesome that they added that. Of course, once you're done with the story, or if you want to take a break from it, you do have dual mode or versus mode. Now you notice in here that Vegeta's fighting Goku, right? But Vegeta's wearing his Buu Saga outfit. Not sure why that's the case. Maybe they were actually going to introduce the Buu Saga, but I guess time constraints or something, they just couldn't do it. Anyways, let's go to the versus mode. Once you get in, you're greeted to a decent selection of fighters. You could either play against the computer or you can fight your buddy. Once you pick your fighters, you do have a selection of 9 stages to go around and test your fighting abilities. The cool thing about it is that these stages, some of them mostly, have a stage transition and making you feel like you're more in the anime. Also, can we just appreciate like how each level selection preview looks? Like, look how nice this looks. Like, you can tell throughout the entire game that the developers really cared and tried to put as many things as possible. Now let's talk about the costumes. Each character has at least one alternative costume. Some of them are actually pretty good though. Some are just color swaps, but the majority of them are actually a brand new like model of the character, which looks pretty awesome. Now see, this is where I have some of my problems with the game a little bit. If you notice, when you're beating the story mode, you do see a battle damage Goku, a battle damage Gohan. You know, and I find it kind of a shame that they don't include that. They're nowhere in the game for like a character section that you can pick them. You just don't. They're just locked behind the story mode, which is unfortunate. Now, of course, what's a Dragon Ball game without transformations? Now, most characters do get a transformation. Some just get like an awakening, a little power boost. Goku in this game has 4 transformations, and 3 of those are just Kaioken, and it doesn't look anything different. Honestly, you see a little bit of like the red aura, but that's it. and then in the 4th one you get his Super Saiyan form. He is one of the only characters that has so many transformations. The problem with so many transformations is maintaining them. See, you have a set number of ki collected to be able to pull these set transformations. The total max ki that's collected is 7 bars. Goku has to have 5 bars to at least go full Super Saiyan. The issue with that is that when you're transforming, each transformation, your ki, which is canon, depletes faster. Now, trying to maintain the Super Saiyan with Goku in a fight is pretty challenging. When you do a Kamehameha, it just drains your power. If you don't charge, you're just draining it even quicker, and if you're not landing any punches, your energy just keeps draining, to the point where if you get knocked out, you will lose that transformation. And it does become a little annoying not be able to transform or hold your favorite transformation. Like, you know, you want to be Super Saiyan is the only annoying part. It's mostly with Goku's character. But then you're wondering, what about Frieza? Well, you see, they do Frieza dirty. In the story mode, you see 2nd form and 3rd form and full power when you're facing Frieza. While you fight him in full power, you see the model and you see the other 2 transformations in cutscenes. Frieza only goes from his 1st form to his final form, not even full power. I don't know why they did that to Frieza. Maybe it was time constraints or just limitations on the engine. I'm not sure, but models are there.
That was fun. But there's nothing super about you, Saiyan.
Now, with all that being said, is transforming worth it when you're sparring? Well, let's try out training mode, which is another game mode that you can practice with bots. Put them in certain presets that help you on your session. Area, nothing too complex, but it does its job. So as you're Goku and you're transforming, each time your power does increase. Not the defense though. I believe that just stays the same. So it is worth it if you can maintain it. One little thing that I also wanted to add to that is when you're sidestepping, each character does a similar sidestep. Like you have Goku and Vegeta, Piccolo, they all do the similar ones. Then you have other characters that don't do the sidestep. They do like this whole spinning move. But the most interesting one is Frieza. Frieza is the only character in the game that teleports when you're trying to sidestep. It does make as playing Frieza different. You feel like you are sidestepping faster, and who knows, maybe you are, maybe you're not. It just looks really cool. So that's a nice little addition that they did to the game. So once you're all battle ready, let's go in my favorite game mode, I would say in any Dragon Ball game, World Tournament mode. In this mode, like the anime, you basically select your fighter and you put in a randomized spot to fight against other opponents on the ring. You can either drain the opponent's HP down to 0 or to knock them out of bounds to win. Once you reach the ending, if you lose, you get the runner-up prize, or if you win, you get the grand prize and you become champion and win lots of Zenny. With the prize money that you got, you go to the skill shop, which is basically where you can buy and equip certain movesets for characters. Now, remember when I said Frieza was done dirty and he didn't get any of his other transformations except for his final form? Well, in the skill shop, you do get an item that basically says Frieza spaceship. You equip that to your Frieza, and once your HP is all down, you basically get brought back to life by the spaceship. They repair you and everything. You come back with full health bars, and the coolest part is you come back as Mecha Frieza, which I would say is probably one of my favorite items in the game. Of course, when you do this, you have to make sure that you select the custom variant, not the normal variant. The sad part about that is that player 2 cannot do a custom variant. They're always stuck with the normal variant that the game basically gives them. So it kind of gives player 1 an edge on things. Kind of sucks, but you know. Now, if you want a little bit more difficulty in the World Tournament, you can actually buy higher difficulties in the skill shop. Once you complete the tournament in a higher difficulty, you do unlock characters like the Great Saiyaman and Hercule, which, by the way, Great Saiyaman is another boot character that they added. Not only that, Tien in his second costume, he is wearing his blue outfit, which is the one where he like fights like Majin Buu. Not really fights, he kind of just does the tri-beam and then he gets like kicked once, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of Buu stuff sprinkled in there. Boo 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 boo. I will say though, the difficulty spike gets insane, and I mean unfair. It's gonna reek like wet Swiss cheese. So once you complete the tournament in the highest difficulty and get even more Zenny, you unlock the final game mode in the game, which is The Legend of Hercule. In this game mode, you basically play as Hercule and you fight your way all the way through the Cell games. I do like that before and after the fight, he does have like a little bit of commentary, considering like how full of himself he is and then how scared he also is. It's pretty funny. It matches the character pretty well.
Then again, I'm a bit pooped. Maybe I shouldn't have said both at once.
Although I will say, Hercule in the Cell arc was the most annoying character ever. Got redeemed in the Buu arc for me though. I love him in the Buu arc. but I just wanted to say that. One of the things that make this game mode a little bit different and more challenging is basically giving you like some debuffs in your character. Sometimes some of your attacks won't do as much damage. Maybe when you beat the enemy, you won't recover your health back and you have to carry on to the next fight. Cool little stuff that adds a little bit of challenge in this final game mode. Of course, once you beat it, you're treated to this funny little cutscene.
The way of Hercule. It's the only way for a true tough as nails warrior. And there's only one way to get it. Right here! In a limited edition of 100 copies, personally signed by yours truly. So order now, because when they're gone. Yeah.
And so once you complete that and you unlock all the game modes, if you notice, like I said before, you only started with 6 Dragon Balls. Now you have 7 Dragon Balls, because Legend of Hercule added another one. Which brings me to my final thing of the game, is Dragon Ball hunting. And let me tell you, it's a pain. See, you would think you collect the Dragon Balls by playing through the game, maybe the tournament mode, giving you like a prize. No, you get them via the skill shop. Collecting the Dragon Balls were definitely the most time consuming and drawn out things ever. The fact that it's all based on RNG, it is insane. But once you complete all the Dragon Balls, you get to make a wish, right? Well, let's see what happens when you collect all 7.
A note? The Dragon Balls are here. We found them all.
What does this say?
What are we gonna get? We get the Dragon Balls.
Huh. So once you summon Shenron, what are the wishes that you can get? You can only get one wish. They have you get a selection of 3, right? So out of those 3, you pick one. Each of them is called a breakthrough. It's randomized between characters, which sucks. The breakthroughs are basically the characters having all their abilities. That's the Dragon Balls in Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Dragon Ball Z Budokai is a fantastic game. I totally recommend it for anybody that's new to Dragon Ball and has played the newer games and wants to dive into the older ones. Jump onto this one first. Go ahead and give it a shot. You will like it in the end of it. You'll enjoy it. It's not the best, but it's still fun. The difficulty can be a little random, especially in the World Tournament, but overall, it's a pretty good time. I just want to say thank you to anybody who actually watched this all the way to the end, or if saw a little bit. Appreciate you guys. I feel like I covered a lot of detailed stuff in this game, so I think we did it. If any of you guys stuck around and watched the whole thing, thank you very much. If you just watch a little bit, thank you also. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time, okay? Bye.